WBXO Classic Rock Redefined in conjunction with Pat's Soundbites Unplugged podcast. Honored to have on our phone today acclaimed soulful blues singer, saxophonist, and 2019 Blues Music Awards instrumentalist under the horn category, the wonderful Miss Vanessa Collier. Vanessa, thank you for your time. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing, Pat?
I am super excited, as you can hear in my enthusiasm, to be able to have a chat with you. Vanessa is currently on tour, supporting her most recent album, Honey Up, and will be performing here locally at Daryl's House Club this Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. I encourage everybody to get your tickets and reserve a table, 845-289-0185 or darylshouseclub.com. I got to ask you, how's the tour going so far? I know you were in Vegas at the big blues bender not too long ago.
Yeah, that was last weekend, and this past weekend I played a couple shows closer to home in Pennsylvania, and everything has been a whirlwind for me because when I started about 5 years ago, I was playing maybe 10 gigs a year, and this year we'll be at about 200, if not more, which is just blowing my mind, honestly. But it's been going great. I'm very happy with all the places we're going to Spain in a couple weeks and back to Switzerland for the third time this year.
Wow.
There's a lot of good things happening.
Good for you, very good for you. I always do a lot of research and prepare and read about you and certainly listen to your music. I love the album Honey Up and playing it since I've received it in the mail from Doug. And, you are such an amazing talent and such an inspiration for a lot of folks out there. I mean, the things that you're doing at a young age is really incredible. So I certainly applaud you, and I'm looking forward to the show on Wednesday. I want to start off, Vanessa, at what point growing up, did you know or decide that music would be the career path for you? And I read that, it was either that or maybe a professional basketball player.
Yeah, I definitely, I had very high hopes in middle school and early high school years of doing everything, and I thought I could be a full-time musician and be a WNBA player and at some point own a restaurant and be a chef. So the realistic part of that hadn't kicked in yet, but totally I knew very early that I wanted to continue to play saxophone. I know, I remember very vividly that playing in jazz band in 6th grade, just made my whole everything light up, and I loved it more than I loved anything at that point. Maybe playing basketball was up there, but I just remember loving the music part of it and getting so much joy every time I played. So I think around sophomore year I almost didn't play basketball my junior year because I was yeah, this is it. I'm cool. I'm good. Music is it for me. And then my coach begged me to play, so I did end up playing all 4 years of varsity. But then dropped it after that.
Well, no, it's great to have different goals and different hobbies, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the key is you really got to love what you're doing. And I see that you're having a blast, and you certainly have taken on this path, and you're really having a great time. Now, you mentioned something which I hear you, the sax, I think it's sax, I think it's jazz instrument, and the blues, such a predominant guitar, wailing, B.B. King sound. He had a little harmonica and some great piano playing. But I never really took the sax as blues until I really started listening to your music. And you have really opened up a whole new boundary for this, which I certainly applaud you. I love what you're doing. So it's very, very cool to see somebody go, you know what? You see sax and trombone and trumpet, and I'm more of a rock guy, and I love the blues, don't get me wrong, and I look at Chicago, wow, you think of rock and you think of Van Halen and all these guys, but then you think, wow, Chicago I've seen a bunch of times, and I just love the horns. So you bring a whole different element to me, I think, to the blues, and I love it, and I know reading enough about you that the sax is really somewhat your voice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of one of my goals. Was like, I played with Joe Louis Walker for like a year and a half.
Great guy. Great,
yeah, absolutely. And he's teaching me all this stuff, and I'm like, man, I could play this on saxophone. I want to make it sound like a guitar. I want to make it speak that way, but also maintain what I love about the horn, which is that you have so much dynamic range, just like you do with the human voice. You can sing it breathy, and you can sing it with power, and you can sing it with some growl to it, or and you can do all of those same things with the saxophone. And they've done studies and said between that and I think it's by viola, where they sound the closest to the human voice. So it's like, you might as well just try and make it sound as close to the emotion that you can create with the human voice, and just create it with the horn. And I thought, why not with the blues stuff? I've always loved blues. And that's really what jazz band was for me at the beginning. It was a 12-bar blues,
Right.
And so, beyond that, it's just changes. There's slight changes. But if you listen to like T-Bone Walker, man, he's playing different changes than everybody else. He's adding 6s and 9s and stuff. And I don't know. I just always loved that and the New Orleans kind of blues and that sort of like that music that was coming out of there. I don't know. It just made sense to me to put the saxophone in the same position.
Well, good for you, and I'm glad that you certainly have done that, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been throughout the country. I love New Orleans. I love the Delta blues. I love the Chicago blues. I love the Motown. I love all of it. And I got a chance to hang out with Joe Louis Walker, just a terrific, terrific guy. I know you're a graduate of Berklee College of Music in Boston. Let me ask you, Vanessa, how has that amazing education prepare you today as an inspiring artist, that you're on the road and you're doing it all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Joe was better than 4 years of education. I loved Berklee, and I grew so much, and really what it did is it blew the doors open for me as to, oh wow, like I can do gospel, I can do R&B, I played country gigs. I mean, like, and then, the production side, it was like, oh, a compressor does this? Oh, an EQ, and, all these things that I didn't know before. And so it was a great 4 years for me. I took songwriting, I took business classes, I took piano and guitar, and everything that I could possibly do related to music, I did. And then I got out on the road with Joe, and it was like, oh, but there's like so much more to learn here. And he's such a great, that dude is an encyclopedia of music, of history, of the history of music, of just like people, right? And I got to sit there for about a year and a half as the sideman playing percussion and singing backup to playing saxophone. I got to sit and watch him read an audience every night, and which way he'd move, and what stories he was telling, and I was listening, and he was teaching me about Freddie King and Albert King, and besides BB, because I already knew him, but
right,
teaching me all these guys to listen to, Willie Dixon, and just all the songwriters and stuff like that, and it was like having that was like my master's program, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you take the education that you got at Berklee, and obviously there's some hands-on, but when you go on the road and you got a guy like Joe Louis Walker that's willing to mentor you, and you get to do that hands-on approach, and you learn and see how it all is actually going on, you can't ask for anything better than that. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I recommend it to everybody who is trying to do anything. Is just go spend, a week on the road, and you're going to see it's not, everybody thinks it's this really glamorous thing, but it's really, there's so much work, and the part that you see on stage is like 10% of it,
Right.
And so I was so thankful to be able to tour, the East Coast mainly, and then a month-long tour in Turkey, and really get my feet wet into it. It was like, do I really want to do this? And I fell in love with it,
Yeah, I mean, there's no better way to know if this is really meant for you unless you do it. And you had a great opportunity. You mentioned songwriting. I mean, you dabbled in everything. I got a million notes here. Top 3 finalists in the John Lennon songwriting competition, reached the semifinals of the 2016 International Blues Challenge. I mean, you got your own record label. I mean, come on. Well, why was that important for you, Vanessa? I mean, I see that your first CD, Heart, Soul, and Saxophone, released in 2014, was on your Phenix Fire, and now Honey Up is. Why was that so important to you?
Well, I think one of the things was, it was just mentioned to me several times at Berklee about, the record label is not super necessary anymore. And, that's what a lot of independent artists are doing, and here's how to do it. And a lot of it was from the songwriting perspective. I got that from my songwriting teachers. From the business perspective, they were talking about, this is what happens. This is what a record deal looks like, and this is what they're taking from you, And I have always thought, I've always been like, it's because of my mom. I've been, pretty self-sufficient. It's like, well, why pay someone else? Why give up this thing if they're really not going to help you out at the end of the day? That's always kind of been my view on record labels is if you hire a good production team, if you hire a good team to promote your record, then you're basically hiring the same people that a small independent label is going to hire. So unless they're sinking a whole bunch of money into you, you really have to look about giving up your royalties.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your copyrights, and I did that for my second record just largely because I thought the touring overseas was going to be worth it, and a lot of great things came out of it. I met Laura Travis, who has played on that record and my third one, Honey Up, and I'm so thankful for that, and I'm so thankful for the 2 feet in the European scene for a second. But at the end of the day, I just didn't see that you really need a record label. So on the third one, I went back to doing what I knew, which I couldn't do without a wonderful audience, and I have wonderful supporters that for that last record that we raised, almost $25,000.
Wow.
To fund the whole production, the whole thing, of that record, and without supportive fans, I couldn't do that, So it's a very symbiotic relationship, and I give what I can to every single person that wants to talk to me or, all that, and they have given so much to me to help me be an independent and make these records the way I want. Honey Up would not sound the way it does, except for the fact that they helped me make the record I heard in my head.
Gotcha. Well, she is Vanessa Collier, currently on tour supporting her most recent album, Honey Up, and will be performing live this Wednesday night at Daryl's house at 7 o'clock. Certainly get your tickets. Yeah, your mom is absolutely right. The music business has certainly evolved. I would think, wow, you sign a record deal and you think this is the greatest thing in the world, but unless you got a top #1 hit and then you got to come up with another one, and you're in competition with all the other artists. So, and today I see so many artists trying to buy their publishing rights back that back in the day they signed without even knowing what they were signing. So,
exactly.
Kudos to you, kudos to mom, thinking out of the box, going, you know what, but you got the experience. You did sign with a label, you got a little experience, so you know what it's like on the other side. So, you know what, there's nothing wrong with living and learning and getting the experience. I want to talk about let me just ask you before we get into Honey Up a little bit of some of your songs. I love them. Talk to me about the Blues Foundation Blues in Schools program. I think it's really fascinating that you go to these high schools and helping young people, the students find passion for love and music. And I think that's important when they see somebody, that is doing it right now, kind of still, you're a young lady, and, it's better than, I would take it that it's probably better for you than a Joe Louis Walker. But why is that important to you? And I think that's a great idea that you're doing that, giving back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super ecstatic that they keep asking me to do these things because, I was very fortunate to grow up in a very just arts kind of town, and I wouldn't have gotten the music education that I had. You know, I had a great foundation before I went off to college, and I want to give that to people that maybe don't have that, or they do, and they just, you know, they get another voice, they get another person to kind of listen to that's out here doing it. You know, I know that I would not have considered a career in saxophone if I hadn't studied with Chris Cadalla, who was playing with Chuck Mangione for 20 years, and, you know, first call for Aretha Franklin and Stevie Wonder and everybody who rolled through town, and he was like, you know, he's proof that it can be done. And I got to see him every week. So these Blues in the Schools programs are like, they're awesome. I get great I get great feedback, you know, of just, hey, how do I do this? I really want to be a singer-songwriter. I'm really passionate about bowling, or I'm really passionate about, you know, it goes all over the map. But it's just like, at the end of the day, I'm trying to teach, just be, you know, go after your passion. Then you can find something else. If that doesn't work, you're going to find another path. But so we talk about the music, we talk about where everything came from, and how a lot of it is the roots of always came from gospel and blues, you know, and how that morphed through the ages into rock and roll, and even the pop music that we're listening to today, and Prince, and, you know, I mean, I can draw so many parallels. So,
well, you are living proof, and it's got to be really exciting for you, and it's great that you're giving back, and for the students out there that you go, look, you can do this. I did this. I'm doing it today. How bad do you want it? You roll up your sleeves. It's not going to be easy, but you got to love what you're doing. You know, last night I played Sweating Like a Pig and Singing Like an Angel. I love that title, and I love that song. Where did that come from?
That came from one of the first big gigs I played was a festival in South Carolina, and it happens every July. It's called the Festival of Discovery. And I was so thankful for this opportunity, and, you know, we had driven the 8 hours or whatever from Pennsylvania down, and got there late, and then got up and played kind of an early show, and even though it was kind of early in the day when we played, it was wicked hot. I mean, it was like in the hundreds, and of course, you know, South Carolina in the summer is like humid as anything. Right? Yeah. So the air's thick, and I'm just sitting there sweating my butt off before I even like walk out of the hotel room, you know. And I was up on stage and just like played a couple songs, and I said something like, "We are sweating like a pig," you know. And there was a guy in the audience that just very southern, yelled back to me, "Yeah, but you're singing like an angel." And I had never heard, you know, I never even thought to bring those two kind of phrases together. And then for some reason when I was writing Honey Up, it was like, oh yeah, sweat like a pig, sing like an angel. What could that be? And I made it into sort of New Orleans kind of vibe, and just talking about the heat in the South and all that.
No, I love it. I think it's great. I love You Get What You Get. Well, that song just goes to a whole different level. You know, you're playing, and it goes to a whole different side of it. I love the fault line. I love Bless Your Heart. She's Vanessa Collier. She actually does even private lessons. I don't know where you find the time to do all this. You can go to VanessaCollier.com. She's on all the social media outlets. She is certainly an inspiration and a role model for everybody, for all these aspiring artists that are out there. Vanessa, you bringing a full band to Daryl's house on Wednesday night?
Yeah, absolutely. There will be 5 of us.
I'm looking forward to it. Where were you the first time you heard one of your songs on the radio?
Oh man, I was driving. I wasn't even in my car, and somebody had XM on, and they played I Can't Stand the Rain from my first record on XM. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I know this intro. You know, like the first 3 seconds, I was like, wait, what is that? Wait, what? You know, I didn't even know they had my record. So, that's super cool.
That's great. You pull over and go, is this really happening? I got to call Mom. I got to call Dad. I got to call everybody.
I did. My grandmother was actually driving with me. We were driving to New York. And she took a picture of it for me on the little, you know, the screen that says your name, and I shot it to my mom, who was in the car ahead of us, actually. So, and then I hopped on the phone, I was like, wow.
That is great. No better feeling than that, I'm sure. Well, if you can't make it to Daryl's house, you can certainly catch up to Vanessa on Thursday night at the Cafe Lena up at Saratoga Springs. You can check out all her dates at VanessaCollier.com. I encourage everybody to buy Honey Up. Go get it. Don't download it, buy it, purchase it. She's a hard-working musician. She's incredible. I can't wait to hang out with you Wednesday night at Daryl's house. Vanessa, I hope you enjoyed the chat as much as I have.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been lovely.
Yeah, no, great. Well, I'm looking forward to Wednesday night. I'm looking forward to rolling the dice with you, and hopefully you get to get that 5 of a kind so we can play the entire album, and that will never, ever be a problem. And wishing you certainly safe travels from wherever you're coming from, Pennsylvania over here. We are looking forward to having you here.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to being there and hope to meet you.
There you go, the very talented Vanessa Collier, and we are WBXO, and we are classic rock, and we are redefined.